Welcome back to Curse, Code, and Crown, a live play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition podcast featuring a fully original world and campaign. I am the wizard Cronox, observer of time. Curse, Code, and Crown features our regular voiceover artists and improvisers, Laura Elizabeth as the Orcountant Eta, Tyler Hewitt as Makka Deathcap, and Ryan LaPlante as Duncan Danno, alongside our dungeon master, the incredible Tom McGee. So get ready for an adventure including thrills, chills, and hope for a brighter tomorrow. It's time for Curse, Code, and Crown!
Makka, you finally return from chatting with the president and helping her kind of achieve her Vita moment. You return to the room where the healing massages are happening, and you can see the wounds healing up on Duncan and Eta as the workers kind of work their magic. Duncan, obviously, you're like choking on some murderous rage. Eta, you haven't been able to do your job yet, which is a bummer. But now that things seem settled and once your wounds are attended to, it seems like you'll actually be able to go track down our old pal Dagwood, Smithsonian, to get the info you need. But the party is briefly back together again for a hot second before all of that occurs. Is there anything you all would want to do before kind of continuing your investigations?
I'm imagining we're fully healed.
Yeah, imagine this as kind of the like, okay, and I think you're good. All right, bros, like we'll see you out there. Tonight's ultimate frisbee night, so like grab a frizz, come join. All right, see you later.
I do not understand how their books have ever been in any sort of order. This is most perplexing.
I think from what we've experienced, they're not really a people based on books. It's more of an oral tradition.
I know, but it's like they were good and they have declined recently.
Well, didn't they explain that was due to the monster outside eating convoys?
Perhaps. I'm still suspicious.
Eta, you would also know that from past records, anytime there's an election, things get a little dicier until the election has been sorted. But this seemed like a bigger disruption. Admittedly, the salamander attacks were an unreported part of that. Yeah. So you're right to be suspicious, but it also like I think you're unfortunately in one of those places that normally breeds like internet conspiracy theories where it's like mostly sounds like if you put it together, it could be correct.
Yeah.
But it just feels off still.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So we'll require some further investigation. Do you think either of you would ask Makka what he was up to, given that he kind of stayed behind and had a private conversation, or would you just kind of let that lay?
I think Duncan would trust Makka to just share anything that was worth sharing. Also, he's so obsessed with the princess that he's just in the land of like, get me the fucking princess and give her to Karen. That he's like, sure, demons, sure, dwarf shit, fucking princess. Until this undoubtedly, and I think even in the back of his brain, he's like, it's all going to get worse. And this is actually going to be the real problem, but I just don't want it to be. so he's trying to turtle, just full head in the sand with a Karen in an armor.
Look, I get that. Like some days I just get really nervous about like, oh man, I'm going to miss sports sometime during quarantine. So I need to buy all the sports games. And then sports came back before I played it. Like, I get it. It seems like the biggest problem at the time. You just want to solve it. Except in your case, it's your dead ward who you hoped would save the world. And in my case, it was baseball. I mean, like, it's fine. Tomato. Okay. So having healed back up to full, I'm going to say we can count all of this as a long rest. So you can have all your shit back.
That's nice.
Get my spell slots back, baby.
Yeah, man. Even though Makka was technically engaged in conversation, I feel like having
such an invigorating conversation.
Yeah, a nice pleasant chat and helping someone from a different culture with their death ritual, like that's a pretty good day for Makka.
Yeah, our new term for Makka being well rested will just be, he's full of vultures.
Yeah. One thing Makka will say is he will let them know that President I have her name on another page.
Nagata.
Nagata, thank you. President Nagata has fully petrified. So now you know that.
All right. So we can't call in any favors there anymore. We should probably try to meet the candidates that we have a friend in whoever the new president is.
I will also say that because you've been kind of hailed as the heroes who dealt with the salamander, the city is aware of that. It's not like President Nagata was like, do this for me. I'm dead. I didn't tell anybody. Go fuck yourselves. The idea is that like when you arrived with the head, like it went and got mounted in the fucking dining hall. Well, I mean, first they're going to taxidermy it, then they're going to put it up in the dining hall. They're not going to make the mistake I always made in The Witcher, where I just stuck a random cockatrice head on a fucking spike and just rode around. That thing's got to smell terrible. I sleep many nights in that game. But anyway, so they're going to taxidermy the head and kind of do all that, but it means that word has spread and has gone out. And I think like basically the people who needed to be aware that you were attempting this were aware before you did it. So there's definitely like now you're greeted much more warmly in the halls. It also helps that you're not walking around with Karen anymore, because that was really unsettling for a lot of folks to be like, oh, the bones of our saint are walking around. That's weird. Who are these people? It's now you're just, they're all tossing coins to you. You find Witcher folk. So yes, Ryan, your doors are open. You don't need to worry too much. But that said, yes, befriending a presidential candidate is probably the way to go, narratively as well as theoretically.
Well, perhaps I can follow you and find this Dagwood Smithsonian character I have been searching for.
In general, I'm not going to have Sandra show up every time you need something. I will say there are enough attendants kind of around now that, Laura, if you did want to go find Dagwood, someone would just take you to him. Again, you guys are your VIPs now, so like you can kind of fast travel to where you need to go rather than...
Yes, I would like to use this fast travel to see Dagwood.
Just
hop in a cart. And pushes me.
Yeah, it's Kevin Fast Travel, and he's like, "Come on, follow me! I'm Kevin Fast Travel. Let's travel fast." And then he walks at like normal pace, but he's real proud of it. It's like when people name their pancakes; they're still just pancakes. So he leads you down the hall. We're gonna be cutting between parties, I suspect. So let's figure out where the other guys want to go first. And then,
great. I don't want to dance too fast. Tom, who names their pancakes?
I ate pancakes this morning. I had no desire to name them.
It's a throwaway joke that's used in a lot of like cartoons and things where it's like the biggest example I can remember is King of the Hill having like spaghetti and meatballs, and they're like, it's just spaghetti and meatballs. You didn't do anything different. You just made the food and put your name on it. And Family Guy I was watching yesterday had like a pancake joke where he's like, oh, here's my Brian's pancakes. I'm like, they're just pancakes. But so there you go. So
that makes sense. I thought it might be naming individual pancakes, like, "Hey, Kevin," and then it's like, "Oh no, Kevin."
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, Mary.
Yeah. It's the tastiest, pettiest revenge, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Just get a short stack of vengeance.
So if Makka and Duncan are left, along with Karen,
well, we'll say just for the sake of kind of tracking everything chronologically. Ita hasn't left yet. She's about to leave. So if you want to go with her, you can. It's not like, Laura said it and suddenly she fucking blinked off the map. If you want to go with her, you still can. So technically you're all still here. She's just made it very clear where she's going. And Kevin Fast Travel's about to take her to the fast travel cart.
Great. I know that I need to find Jeanette Wilcox to discuss this whole Karen Princess Armor Emulium situation. Makka, do you want to join me for that? Because I'm imagining afterwards we'd both like to see... the hell, a candidate,
Richard the Grey. Richard Cambridge.
Yes.
It is the reason we came here, to investigate the armor. Yes, let us speak to this Wilcox.
Excellent. Well, Ita, I guess we'll see you back in the room. Do we want to coordinate over like a lunch or something? This feels like one of those vacations aristocrats used to have back in Orville.
What is a vacation?
Well, when a rich person does nothing, eventually they get tired of doing nothing, so they go to a different location to do nothing where it's slightly more pleasant.
I will be doing my work. I do not understand doing nothing.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, this feels like a bit of a vacation. You know how everyone outside sort of naked and drunk in their orgy rooms?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm imagining that's not your normal state of being, right? Drunk, naked, in orgies.
No.
Yeah, so
I
people.
am naked, yes.
That is true. But I guess so for Makka, this is the same as normal. And for those of people might take a break from our cultures to go here to be like, it's time for naked orgy room drinking, for like a week or so. And then they go back to their smithy or to their aristocrating as needs be.
I like aristocratic as a verb. That makes me very happy.
So
I will go investigate the accounts, and if it makes sense to rejoin with you to eat lunch, I will do so. Yes.
All right. So we'll meet either for the meal or back here. That was a real circle.
Or I will stay there and continue a conversation. I will not interrupt my work unnecessarily.
Then it is settled. We will do lunch.
And with that decision made, with little to no ado, that brings us to the end of the series. That was as much as we have time for in our games. Thank you all. Good night.
Yeah. Much ado about lunch.
Lunching, yeah. Luncheon. Much ado about luncheon. Great. So Makka and Duncan, you head off to find Jeanette Wilcox, and Ita, you go with Kevin Fast Travel to find Dagwood Smithsonian. Ita, you arrive to Kevin kind of takes you down a couple floors. The cart moves very fast, but you can still see a lot of these sort of petrified grayed dwarves lining the sides as you go. They truly are everywhere, and the deeper you get, the more crowded they get. It's kind of like White Queen from Narnia level, like, oh, there's a lot of these kind of on your way down. Right. But you also suddenly realize as the cart descends just how vast the network under Sprangbrekh is. It in and of itself is a very large city, kind of in the way Mesobranzon's often shown. Not that big, but still very large. But it would seem that even though it was difficult to ascertain from the top, the reason it's referred to as a fortress is it's kind of a fortress pointed down, not a fortress pointed up and out. But there really is an entire network down here. You're also noticing as you kind of shoot past, you're kind of on like a bit of a Space Mountain adventure where like
we're in Gringotts.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Or like a cool level in Donkey Kong Country, like one of the two.
Yay.
Looking kind of to your left and your right as you zip by, you can see that there are like full facilities set up. Some of the larger caverns seem to have buildings, and suddenly a lot of the kind of questions you had about how anything gets done here start to make more sense. It seems like there's a lot of worker facilities down here where people likely live and check in. It seems like the fortress itself is almost like where you would take shore leave. So suddenly the output of the mine makes a lot more sense because you're seeing all of the processing and so on and so forth. That said, everyone is still super young, super ripped, like, Axe body spray just wafting on the air. Like, it's still very much the same place, just this is the university library where everyone kind of fucks off, and upstairs is the club.
Gotcha.
But eventually you arrive kind of at a central overseer's office where the director of operations, Dagwood Smithsonian, is eagerly awaiting you. As you walk up, he's a bit of a Eugene Levy type as a dwarf. But like, if you can imagine this, please do bear with me. The bearing of Eugene Levy, but like in the body of like a 19-year-old Eugene Levy. So not a Dan Levy, because that's a much different energy, but just like kind of a fussy old man in a young man's body with eyebrows to spare. And he just comes out and says, welcome. Oh, you must be Ida. I'm so sorry. I've been practicing your name, but I don't want to make a fool of myself by mispronouncing it. But I was told that Ida would be fine. Is that correct?
It is acceptable. Yes.
Wonderful,
Absolutely.
wonderful. I'm so glad you made it down here. I got word you came yesterday. I heard you went to deal with the monster thing that the people up top have been talking about. Fantastic stuff. But I'm sure if you're like me, you are eager to look at some numbers. Am I right?
I have been eager for quite some time. Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Well, come on in. Let's get you settled, and you can start looking over our books. So he leads you into the office, and there are a bunch of dwarves kind of running around to and fro doing administrative tasks. There's a couple walk and talks as you come through. He signs some documents without looking at them, and then he leads you to a room that, honestly, Ida, it makes your heart sore, because Duncan did kind of put the fear of God in you a little bit upstairs, that these people might not actually keep books and might just want to talk at you, which you've seen receipts, you know that they do, but it's just that worry. But it is a massive circular room full of books.
Fantastic.
And it's got kind of a nice big stone-shaped table in the center. It's a big round table with kind of small little nooks crafted into it, and those sort of glowing now purple lights kind of casting dim light. It says, okay, so here's our archive. I'm happy to walk you through whatever you want. I understand there's some concern about our output. Laura, I'm going to get you to turn to your sheet for this,
Sure.
because I would like you to tell me what skills you would like to use in this encounter to try and ascertain what you need to know. Rather than me just prescribing them for you and or giving you a fistful of ones, I think it would make more sense. So I'm going to give that to you for a second. Give that a think. I'm going to cut to the other folks, and then I'll come back around to you.
Sounds good.
Dope. Meanwhile, Makka and Duncan, you are making your way to speak to one of the I think we just say the head director of bonding, Jeanette Wilcox, who is the dwarf currently in charge of dealing with the Emulium armor and helping Demon Knights soul bond with it. Unlike the kind of like magical Gringotts ride, you guys are actually taken to a building in Sprangbrekh proper, and it from the outside it has like that classic, like almost like a lot of embassies have this, where it's just kind of an incredibly boring, plain looking building, such that you would just ignore it if you were walking by. You're led in, of course, still crafted out of stone. You're brought inside, and your guide kind of walks you to a big circular room with a very unadorned floor. And then he takes off his feet. Takes off his shoes. Takes off his feet. They were fake. He's wearing those weird. Yeah, he's wearing Tiva shoes. So he takes off shoes that look like feet to reveal his feet. And he starts shuffling almost vaguely rhythmically around the floor. And similar to what you'd seen Sandra do with her hands, he basically slowly starts shuffling it into a twisting stairwell. And after a few moments, it opens up to reveal kind of a large tunnel descending downwards. And he brings the kind of curving stair that he's shaping to meet an existing spiral staircase that ends several meters below the ground level. And then he turns and just says, "Ta-da," and gestures downward.
Thank you, friend dwarf. We greatly appreciate your assistance.
Thank you. My name is Truffle. This was my shuffle. Good day. Well, and then he just stands there staring down, like in a after you kind of way.
Makka
leaves. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'll just go with him.
Fantastic. So the two of you make your way down a stairwell. Incidentally, you are descending into the mines, but it seems to be a place that is purposefully kind of cut off and not. It's accessible by the sorts of spots that Ita just saw, but like you're not going to put your armory next to your mine. That doesn't entirely track. So you're brought
Especially
down.
not when demons pop out.
Yeah. So you're brought down, and the lower you get, the more you can feel the heat of a forge working over time. Makka, to your delight, this isn't the kind of lava lord level of like oppressive heat, and there's still kind of the cool natural sensation of the rock around you. That said, that tingle of energy is more present the further underground you get. And you can't help but think of the roots and kind of the sensations you received from them as you descend. You come down into what's almost a switching station. You can see that there are carts set up that seem to head back into the mines, that head lower down into the forge. You can feel the heat rolling in waves out of one of these spaces. But there's also, like, if we think of this kind of as a roundish room, it's like it's hard to describe visually, but if you're making a mind map, it's almost designed that way, where there's just like corridors, big round spaces off of this central junction, and then back into the mines, which are a bit twistier. So this is clearly a much more crafted space for a specific purpose, as opposed to the natural crafting of the mines. In any case, you were greeted by a woman wearing a very fine suit of armor that she's wearing a robe over. Looks kind of like a fancy sorcerer's robe. So very like plush fabric. And it's probably the most official thing you've seen since you arrived here. Even the president kind of seemed to just be wearing casual-ish gear. And I don't know, she had like a pop culture mashup t-shirt or something under a blazer. But this is legitimately like there's a sense of austerity to this dwarf. So she comes up and gives you like the hang 10 hands, and she's like, "Welcome, dudes. And greetings. I understand you have some questions for me about how we work our armor down here."
Makka just looks to Duncan. Yeah.
Correct. Great. Jeanette Wilcox, my name is Duncan Danno, first captain of the Dawnbreakers, and this is Makka Deathcap, grave warden of the Tortles of Bleen. And yes, we do need information about Emulium armor.
All right, what's up? I should give a proper introduction to my name's Jeanette Wilcox. I'm the director of bonding, which means I'm really into bondage. Ha, that's a little bonding humor for you. And anyway, it's good to meet you, Duncan Danno of the Dawnbreakers there, and Makka Deathcap, gravekeeper of Bleen, was it?
Yes.
That's impressive. All right, so listen, I'd love to answer any questions you folks have. Heard you got done with that six-legged fuck up top, but you're gonna have to come with me. I'm just in the middle of something here, but happy to answer any questions as long as you'll just let me keep puttering away.
Wonderful. We'll just follow wherever she needs to putter.
Yeah. So as you begin to talk with her, she kind of leads you into a large room, and this is it looks a little bit like what you would imagine or what you'd see in any kind of sci-fi movie where like either troopers in like exosuits or mechs are kind of hanging from frames. There's a massive ceiling structure that has a bunch of dwarves in armor suspended from it. So they're just kind of hanging there, and you can hear them all kind of rhythmically chanting as you enter. And she says, "Sorry, we're about 2/3 of the way through bonding these fresh demon knights to their gear. So, it's not a particularly important part of the process, but I got to make sure it stays on the rails. Gotta earn my robes. Am I right? So come on in. I'm just gonna keep doing my rounds here, making sure they're okay. But feel free to pay no attention to them. They're deep in the trance, so no worries there."
Cool. Tom, to save the audience and us from having to go through the whole story again, Gwendolyn gets stabbed into the armor, body dies, becomes knight, goes on journey, don't know what happened. Now a familiar in the armor. How do I get Gwen back?
Okay, but like,
that's the story.
What is your stance on lunch? Is it a vacation?
I am naked.
Look, I like this guy's style. I think this turtle fucks. All right, yeah. So that's a hell of a story. I wish I could experience that on YouTube or on my podcast network of choice, but since I can't, I'll just imagine it in my mind palace here. So it sounds like your princess got soul bonded to the suit. Now that makes sense. I don't know if anyone's explained how Emulium works, but
they have not.
Oh, all right. Yeah, cool. Let's start there then. That'll probably clear some things up. So we've discovered that, and again, this is for you as heroes of Sprangbrekkers, if you will, to know, but not to share, because this is proprietary information. We're very serious here. Oh, hey, there goes Fartzo. Yo, Fartzo, do your thing. And he like farts and they all laugh. She's like, yeah, all right. We're very serious here, though, so don't tell anyone about our secrets.
I would never.
All right, cool. You seem big into oaths and stuff, so I'm going to take you at your word. Amulium armor is the reason it's so much better than, and the reason our demon knights are better than the average bear, as it were, is we realized a long time ago that warriors always talk about their blade being a part of themselves. I mean, you look like a dually guy. Would you argue that your blade is part of you when you're in combat?
At the very least, it's an extension of my will.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. We decided to take that one step further. Why just have to imagine it and make it part of your warrior philosophy when we could use enchantments to actually make your armor and your armaments an extension of your will? Now, the catch there is it requires bonding your very essence to the armor. Now, that's a very complex thing that even we don't fully understand. But we've found incantations, and by weaving enough of the daemonite through the metal, it becomes an incredible conductor for the very spirit itself, the soul, some might say. And turns warriors from people wearing armor into living armor, which I got to tell you is pretty good for kicking demon ass. And we know something about kicking demon ass down here.
You said demonite? Is that a particular kind of metal?
Yeah, it's our main resource down here. I don't know if you've toured the facilities yet, but we mine for demons. They're an incredible source of power, and really, they were the only way we could find to make the armor conducive enough to the powers of warriors. So, I mean, it's a system we've had going for a long time. We're incredibly good at it. You don't need to worry. The demon knights are experts at killing these fuckers. But yes, we actually weave what we've come to call demonite. It comes in various forms, but we process the demons we've slain into resources we can use, and by weaving it through the armor, it creates an armor that can conduct the soul itself. So, your princess, when she got stabbed, she somehow bonded with the armor, which is kind of fucked up, because if it's you said it was a Mark II set of armor from
that's what
Frecklin the Tall's armor. Yeah. So Frecklin would have been bonded to that armor. So there shouldn't have been room in there for anyone else. So something must have happened to it somewhere along the way that changed it. I don't know what that would be, but I don't know if it's something your Solaris lady did or something else. Maybe it's something Frecklin himself did. But if there was room in that armor, I think she got stuck in there. But now you're saying she's gone, and there's a familiar, which sounds like a demon, so probably something that should die. No offense. I don't know if she's your pal or whatever.
Sort of where my opinion's at, but yeah, because we Princess was in there, and then at one point a witch possessed the armor and forced the princess out.
Okay,
but
that's
the princess
not great.
Came back.
All right,
and then Karen, who said the princess just disappeared and was gone forever. And there was sort of Karen was a familiar, and there was a fish etched on the shoulder that looked like Karen.
That's strange.
And now that's gone.
Karen
Makka,
is here with us right now, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Wanted to. Okay.
Yeah. Karen has to stay in the room because Karen is bad.
Okay. Bad Karen.
Okay.
Yeah, this would be a much different conversation. I don't think Karen would be quiet for this long, really, for anything, let alone this. Yes. So Jeanette seems to take a minute to think about this, and she goes and like fixes a strap on someone, and you can see that the straps, as she's adjusting them, seem temporary, almost like they'll fall away, a little bit like getting temporary stitches. Like you can almost see the skin beginning to bond with the metal, and it seems these straps are a temporary measure to assist in the bonding process. Anyway, she says, "Okay, well here's the problem I'm having. Once one of our warriors has bound their soul to one of our daemonite armor sets, they're in. They're they're bonded to it forever. It would be agony. It would be like shredding your very soul to remove it. But even then, the armor should retain aspects of that soul bond. It's in there. You can take it off and it'll shred you, but it's not like it's not like normal armor. You can't just put it on and it's good now. There's still something stuck in it. So your princess shouldn't have been able to get into that armor in the first place, because Frecklin should have still been in that armor, no matter who put it on. So that's confusing. But if that's true, if the armor is somehow broken or damaged in some way, if it's changed in some way, then that means it might be an empty vessel, which means that people can come and go. So I got to take a look at this stuff. But from what you're saying, it wouldn't be unreasonable if your Gwendolyn did in fact die for her to just not be there anymore and for this Karen to be able to take over the rest. Now, the koi etching on the shoulder thing is strange, but again, it sounds like your armor's damaged in some way, so I'd believe it. But look, if I can take a look at the armor, I can see if there's a trace. It's very easy for us to determine. I can use my sick, dope magics, yo.
I mean, that would be wonderful. At the same time, is there any way to trace if Karen had perhaps thrown Gwendolyn free of the armor and taken it over in some form of spiritual homicide?
I mean, I can definitely check that, but that's going to be much harder. Again, no one should be able to leave the armor. I think from what I'd heard, the thought from the president was that Amalek and Solaris had killed Frecklin the Tall, but from what you're saying, that wouldn't make entire sense either. I'd be interested to solve this mystery. Yeah, honestly, me too. The legends of the thief Solaris are famous down here, but we always kind of assumed that she killed him and then somehow like used crazy spooky witch powers or something to like take it and bond with it.
If I may, I am somewhat of an outsider to this story that both of your people have placed much value in. As I understand it, this Frecklin was powerful, capable, yes?
Yeah, man, he was dope.
And Declan, this Solaris, was a laborer before she was a warrior, yes?
That is what he's told.
Then it seems to me that Solaris would not have the capabilities or ancient sacred knowledge to separate Frecklin from the armor. And so an agreement must have been struck instead, yes?
Jeanette's like kind of nodding in like a, interesting. But Duncan, I need an insight check, please.
$14.
She seems to be kind of nodding along with this agreement piece. But when he says that she was a laborer who wouldn't have any knowledge of this arcane stuff, there's the briefest flash of just kind of like a shadow crosses her face.
All right, so what was that? Just having spotted the expression.
It's like hand up, hold it there, Makka.
Not Makka. He's talking to her.
That sounds like
Makka would carry
sounds
on.
like a good theory to me. There could have been an agreement, although even then it's incredibly strange, but it's possible.
You had a shadow cross your face when he said that Amala had no magical abilities and was a worker. What do you know that we do not?
She starts looking extra cagey. Can you roll a persuasion or an intimidation check, depending on...
All right. Hey, they're the same score. So we'll go with persuasion on this one. But I'm going to use a swashing point to seem extra trustworthy and charming, which gives me... let me double check the rules. Which gives me advantage on the next charisma check. So
nice.
He'll lean forward and say, as one person who works hard and plays hard to another, let me say, sun's out, guns out. Let's get the truth out in the sun to get a nice tan on it.
Holy shit.
Oh, motherfucker.
With advantage?
With advantage, 10.
Oh,
That's tough.
Oh, She doesn't look certain. She's like, well, I mean, everything you just said was pretty great. If you'd thrown like a gym and laundry in there, I would have been done. But you wear a lot of clothes for a guy who claims to, put the guns out in the sun with the truth. But I don't know, your naked turtle man here, he seems pretty rad, pretty tubular. Like he'd be a great teenage mutant guy in a different life. Makka Deathcap, what do you think? What's a cool thing you think would convince me to tell the truth here? Because I don't know if you're trustworthy, and honestly, I don't trust this other guy. I think I just trust you.
Mm-hmm. My friend Duncan is indeed trustworthy. Would it not matter to you that I vouch for him?
And I put my hand on his shoulder and I cast Enhance Ability.
She goes, I don't know. I'm not really sold just yet because I think you need him to roll dice.
Yeah. The Enhance Ability can take many forms, and in this case, it's going to take the form of Eagle's Splendor. The target has advantage on charisma checks.
All right. So she's not entirely sold, but like you can tell she wants to believe so hard. So she just kind of looks back and she goes, I mean, that sounds pretty good, but can I really trust you?
Here's the question. Can you trust this?
And he just reaches up and swirls his cape in front of himself while undoing buckles underneath. And his goal is that it's like the quick change magic routine. So when it comes off, all of his clothes are off and he's just in his gnome glove, like loincloth thing from the Iron Silk. So let's see if he can pull this off.
What is going on?
That is a 23.
And she goes, yo, that's trustworthy Sprangbrekh right there. All right. Dope. And you hear all of the demon knights chant like dope before going back to their bonding chant. And she's like, yo, sorry man, I didn't realize that you really did live the suns out guns out life. I was worried you didn't, but it seems you do. You are a man of your word. Also,
if you check the back of this, it's suns out, buns out.
Oh, hey, hell yeah. Listen, I'm at work right now. I don't want to get too riled up. That's for Sprangbrekh leave, but Sprangbrekh isn't until next week for me, so I got to keep working. We just refer to the place we go as a thing. You get it. Anyway, so yeah, according to our records and our understanding, and she kind of again winces when she looks at you, Duncan. She's like, "Look, man, I don't know how much you know about early human history, but y'all were kind of slaves. You know that, right? Like, you kind of worked for all the higher born races."
Yeah, people have gone over that narrative with us. Yes.
Yeah, I also I'm real sorry about that. I feel real shitty that was how that all went down. But I wasn't born, so. Anyway, so she worked. Amala would have worked in the Getna mines, which similar to these mines, were where we mined for. I mean, Demonite's more of a here thing, but Amulium was being forged and created in those mines as well. So she might actually have had not magic powers necessarily, but. I think about all the people who work here. They all have working knowledge of how this place works. So she might have known enough to break a soul bond, which is the greatest crime someone could commit in our society. Truly an act of blasphemy so damning, your very name would be removed from history. So fingers crossed she didn't do that shit because ugh.
Couldn't she have built a copy with the knowledge that she had?
I mean, no. The forges were when the Necrotus attacked. The forges were wiped out, so she wouldn't have had the ability. It's from what I've heard from the people up top. That is that's the right armor. However she got it, that is Frecklin the Tall's armor.
What happens to a knight's armor when they die?
They're still bonded to it. We bury them in it. I mean, if what's left of them. Anyway, sometimes they lose bits and pieces here and there, but the important thing is that their very essence is still infused into the armor itself. If you were to wear it, it would kind of feel like putting a shell next to your ear, and instead of hearing the ocean, just hearing discordant screams of severed shards of soul. Enough to drive you mad, for sure.
Interesting.
But again, I could probably tell you more if I actually took a look at it. Let's speculation.
Let's have you take a look at it. I think that we can wholeheartedly agree upon.
Great. So that she kind of calls over one of her apprentices. You do notice there's a really interesting kind of hierarchical structure in Sprangbrekh and the mines because everyone dies so young, like grays so young. There are just like apprentices fucking everywhere because the turnover is so high that like everyone has assistants and observers, and you can tell that it's basically all of these people, their entire life is just training the next person from the minute they start the job. Which I think, Duncan, you can kind of appreciate from a Dawnbreaker perspective in terms of the continuity of ideas. And Makka, for you, it just seems like a very effective, even though their cycle is strange.
I haven't been sold on this graying out thing. It looks like a big waste of energy to me. Everyone's working so hard, moving so quickly, and that energy that they're using does not get returned to the cycle.
Yep, that's a fair point. So still uncomfortable, still don't love it, still not sold.
It's a shame is what it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So with that, the three of you start making your way back up to go visit Karen. Meanwhile, Ita, what have you decided to investigate with as you speak to Dagwood?
So I would like to. So I have perfect recall, which means that like anything I look at for like a minute at least, like I can remember perfectly. So what I want to see is basically I want to see their like quarterly filings for the last 2 years and like compare that with like all of their like production logs and sales. And then look at like the current quarter's production, any shipping manifests and logs. And I also want to, basically have time to study those a little bit and then do an audit of the production facilities to see how things line up. But I think it's kind of like, even though it's photographic, like memory, I think it's almost like, it not so much as like, I'm comparing this number and this number and this number and this number. It's more like she almost gets a feeling of it. So I think it's kind of more along like the arcana side of like her mathematics. So I think that's kind of more of what it is in terms of like looking at the numbers and comparing things. Yeah.
Well, you also like your character has magical abilities that she understands through mathematics.
Yeah, exactly.
So as I've often made the case, like Han Solo's luck, probably just the Force, but like not a guy who believes in the Force, just a guy who can dodge Greedo shots at point blank, you know?
Yeah. So if there's anything like specific that I end up going to look at, it'll probably be investigation. But I think in terms of the overall feel, it's more of an, what's the feeling I'm getting from this?
Okay, cool. So go ahead and roll for Arcana, please.
Okay.
Good old-fashioned intuition check.
That's an 11.
11. So similar to what we discussed with your earlier investigations, it feels almost right, which is in a lot of ways much harder to investigate because it's not like, oh, there's $45 million just missing in February. It's like, okay, there's little irregularities here and there. The other thing that you're running into difficulty of is the numbers themselves fluctuate in a way that from your kind of research seems within the acceptable margins. You're also trying to compare it with all the kind of world events you can consider, which things like, okay, well, we know like tensions have been higher between like the Covenant of Krekhet has been kind of flexing its muscle again. There have been sort of conflicts here and there. How do those sync up with these numbers? how does this salamander that we don't actually know the arrival date of? So basically, like you're seeing all the information, but you're having a hard time muddling through it. So I'm going to need an investigation check because I think the Arcana check was unfortunately too low to properly get you the information you need.
Jesus Christ. 9. I'm rolling shit right now. It's
fair. All right. So yes, still having difficulty. I think you're starting to realize that there is just too vast. The information here is too vast for you to get a proper overview. Plus, again, the nature of it is so strange that it's difficult to tell. So unfortunately, it seems like your only recourse is going to be Dagwood. So the books have failed you. With what I've kind of described to you now, what would your approach be with him?
I think because this is quite frustrating and I do need answers, and I think I would probably weave a little bit of my disarming theorem and try to very gently charm him in terms of like, because he's the director of operations. He knows. I think that he is well aware of what's going on. I think it only makes sense that he knows. So I think it's like, basically walking him through all of the numbers and doing this like I think she kind of uses like it's almost again it's like counting sheep but like counting the numbers and like kind of lulling him into like
almost like I imagine
a suggestive state.
No, I dig that. I don't find ASMR works for me at all, but like I think it could almost be something like that, where you just suddenly everything's a little softer and more sibilant and just kind of gentle and like, until your mind is kind of like, oh, I'm just content now and I don't know why. All right, so I got to roll a wisdom
I think
save? I want to say will save with every fiber of my being.
This is wisdom save. Yeah, DC 14.
Oh, yeah, no. I got a 4.
Yay!
Plus stuff, so like a 6, but still not the best. Okay, so you start talking through. You get the sense that he's pretty burnt out. So even just like talking through this kind of gentle narrative is like good for his brain. So as you begin to kind of lull him into it, he becomes lightly charmed, and you feel as though you can push with questions. What do you want to know specifically?
No, I know about the demonite, right? I want to make sure.
You do. You're aware of. You've read the term. You're aware of emulium as a resource, but like, if you probably the easiest way to explain this is like emulium is the actual export. The demonite is something that is required to make that, but that they don't widely advertise. So you'd be aware of it, but I don't think you would know what it is, how it was made. It would just be like if you're looking at a manifest of like, how did you build this car? Someone's like, oh, it's like the rotator shaft. And you're like, oh, okay. Don't know what that is, but I understand that it's there.
Right. Okay. So I think she kind of pushes at like just gently with like this emulium that you are creating is quite beautiful, and you're doing a magnificent job at creating the environment for your workers and for all of the processes. But I must know, how are you producing so much? How do you inspire everyone to do such magnificent work, down to, the very people who are collecting, who are working in the depths of this mine? I must see.
So he explains a bit about kind of what you've already put together about Sprangbrekh and the idea of like, work hard, play hard. But then he kind of gets a bit of a wistful look on his face, and he's just like, well, and we're all graying out a bit sooner than we have been. It's we're getting less and less time to YOLO, so we got to YOLO a bit harder, and it means we all work a little extra hard and we play a bit extra hard. But yeah, it's if you may have noticed a few irregularities here and there on our output, and it's been hard adjusting as the gray has been coming earlier and earlier. But we're doing our best. We're training people up as fast as we can. The Frolf League has really suffered for it quite a bit, but it's a price we're willing to pay to make sure production keeps up. Now, we've also had problems with that critter there that you killed, so that's going to help quite a bit. But no, the biggest problem we're having is just with people graying out a bit sooner. We got more elections, and we got more apprentices learning the trade.
Well, why is this graying out? Why is this accelerating?
I mean, it seems to just be a generational thing. We don't know too much about it. It's just the way of life down here. We gotta live fast, die young, leave a beautiful corpse made of stone. I actually don't understand how you people live so long. That sounds exhausting.
This is most perplexing. Please, show me. Show me. Just take me on the tour.
All right. Well, a tour it is. Here's your souvenir cap. And he hands you a baseball cap with Sprangbrekh on it. It's one of those.
This is very frustrating because I'm just like, fuck this. I don't fuck. This is.
Oh man. Imagine how less frustrating it would be if you hadn't rolled an 11 and a 9. Math, it'll get you. So with that, you squarely fit a cap over your braided mohawk in like frustration, but also being aware that the more you humor him, the faster this will go. And he calls Kevin Fast Travel's cart, and he begins to take you on a tour of the facilities so you can be picking up slack. Despite your lack of short skirt or long jacket, you will tour these facilities. What are you looking for specifically? I know you're curious about the gray, but what is the irregularity you want to see?
I want to see if there's basically if anyone, like, I'm aware that like a mineral is mined, it's produced, like it's created, it is transformed into this armor. I just want to see if there's anything that is unexpected in that process. Like, from what I know about mining, is there anything that I think is at least bit strange going on?
So
because I just know at some point in the process something is off.
Yeah. So you're considering this, and you're like getting really ready to eagle eye this shit because previously you shot past so fast that you're a bit taken aback when you arrive in the central chamber that Gwen fell through last session to find just a stack of demon corpses being tossed into a grinder. And he says, well, welcome to demon processing. This is where the magic happens. Here, follow me. I'll show you how we turn these evil sumbitches into something a bit more useful, huh? And with that, Ita, you look upon the Sprangbrekh demon processing facility where nightmares born of the void are being processed into armor.
What I say with like some difficulty. What a beautifully efficient operation you have here.
Oh yeah, just try not to breathe too deep. The smell is rough. And with that, you are guided on to the slaying floor.
This episode of Curse Code and Crowd Sound was mixed and edited by Laura Hemstra. and the campaign was created by Tom McGee. Our original theme music was composed by Landon Knoblock, and Curse Code and Crown's logo was created by the brilliant Decapitated Markers. If you want to follow our players or our DM on Twitter, you can reach out to Laura at EL Hamstring, Ryan at the Ryan LaPlante, Tyler at Tyler_Hewitt, Tom McGee at McGeeTD, or you can message our whole company at DumDumDice. So please, join us again for more Curse, Code, and Crown!
Dum Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christian Menicola, Long Long, the Half-Blind Prophet, James Cuellar, Charles Grams, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Lord Abradovic, Noel Lewis, Scott Garland, Anthony Griffin, Chet Awesome Laser, Jordan Neesmith, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Taryn Hefner, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.